Namaskar, welcome to PK's classes. Today we are going to discuss about the reactive oxygen species. The reactive oxygen species are named so because they are highly reactive, they are unstable chemicals formed from diatomic oxygen, and they easily react with other molecules in a cell like DNA, RNA, lipid and protein and may cause cell death. So these are basically the byproducts of cellular metabolism, and they can be two types, radical and non-radical. The radical species also known as free radicals because of the presence of unpaired electron in their outermost orbit, and non-radical species, even though they are non-radical, they can generate free radicals, so they are coming under reactive oxygen species. So this side we have the reactive oxygen species, and this side we have the this side we have the free radicals, and this side we have the non-radicals. So the free radicals, example superoxide, hydroxyl, peroxyl, nitric oxide, nitrogen dioxide, liquid peroxide. And non-radicals, hydrogen peroxide, hypochlorous acid, peroxynitrite, nitrous acid, dinitrogen trioxide, lipid peroxide, ozone, singlet oxygen. These are all examples of non-radicals, these are examples of radicals. Radicals because of the presence of unpaired electron in their outermost orbit. We can generate the reactive oxygen species by either electron transfer reactions or by energy transfer reactions. So the electron transfer reactions occur mainly by electron transport chain, respiratory burst and liquid peroxidation. So we will discuss one by one. And the free radicals like superoxide, hydroxy radical and the non-radical like hydrogen peroxide all are generated by electron transfer reactions. And energy transfer reactions, singlet oxygen is produced by energy transfer reactions. And you can see first the electron transfer reactions. The molecular oxygen we can see here. Oxygen, the atomic number is 8 and the electronic configuration 2 6. So 2 paired electrons are there and 2 paired electrons are there and 2 unpaired electrons. So these 2 oxygen atoms share those 2 unpaired electrons to form this double bond, to form this molecular oxygen. So the 4 electrons are shared by 2 oxygen atoms, so that the octet rule is satisfied. Then molecular oxygen in presence of 1 electron forms superoxide radical. Then with another electron and 2 hydrogen forms hydrogen peroxide. Then with another electron hydroxy anion and hydroxy radical is formed. Hydroxy radical with H plus forms water. So as we said that reactive oxygen species are the byproducts of cellular metabolism. So during the conversion of oxygen to water, the byproducts, the superoxide, hydrogen peroxide, hydroxy radical, these are all the byproducts during conversion of oxygen to water. So electron transport chain, how they generate the reactive oxygen species. Electron transport chain is required for production of ATP from NADH and FADH2. As you know, from one glucose molecule we can have around 28 to 32 ATP produced, but usually in glycolysis 2 ATP and in Krebs cycle 2 GTP are formed, 2 GTP which is equivalent to 2 ATP. So the rest are produced from NADH and FADH2. In glycolysis there are production of 2 NADH, and during the conversion of pyruvic acid to acetyl coenzyme A, there is production of 1 NADH, so 1 glucose is converted to 2 pyruvate in glycolysis. So from 2 pyruvates of 2 NADH into 2 NADH will be there. During the Krebs cycle, from one acetyl coenzyme A, there will be production of 3 NADH and 1 FADH2 and 1 GTP. So for 2 acetyl coenzyme A, we will have into 2 6 NADH, 2 FADH2 and 2 GTP, which is equivalent to 2 ATP. So now we have around 10 NADH and 2 FADH2 from one glucose molecule in addition to 4 ATP during the cellular respiration. And 1 NADH can generate equivalent to 2.5 ATP and 1 FADH2 is equivalent to 1.5 ATP. They can produce ATP through the electron transport chain. And how that occurs, you can see in the electron transport chain consists of 4 complexes: complex 1, complex 2, complex 3 and complex 4. And in addition there is coenzyme Q and cytochrome C. So NADH provides the electron to complex 1 and FADH2 provides the electron to complex 2. Both complex 1 and complex 2 then provide electron to coenzyme Q then transfer it to complex 3 then transfer it to cytochrome C then transfer it to complex 4, and finally that electron is accepted by oxygen. Complex 1, 3 and 4 also act as proton pump and pump the H plus generated from NADH and FADH2, and those H plus form a concentration gradient, and through ATP synthase there will be an influx of H plus and oxygen with H plus and electron forms water. So the electron generated through electron transport chain mainly helps in reduction of oxygen to water, but there can be leakage of some electron from 0.2% to up to 3% leakage from complex 1 and complex 3. There can be leakage, and that leakage, because of that leakage, electron directly reacts with molecular oxygen to form the superoxide. So after generation of the superoxide, further free radicals and non-radicals, the reactive oxygen species are generated through electron transport chain. So electron transport chain is a source of free radicals because of leakage of electrons from complex 1 and complex 3. Then let us discuss about the respiratory burst or oxidative burst. Usually the bacteria or any pathogen infection, if it is there, then we develop the innate immunity, because of which the bacteria is phagocytosed by our phagocytic cells like macrophages and neutrophils. And after phagocytosis, there will be degradation of that internalized pathogen or bacteria by respiratory burst. What is that respiratory burst? There will be a 10 to 20-fold increase in oxygen consumption through NADPH oxidase activity, NOx activity. So we can see this reaction: O2 plus NADPH. In presence of NADPH oxidase, there will be generation of superoxide. Superoxide then can generate H2O2 by superoxide dismutase. Then in presence of myeloperoxidase and chloride, there will be production of hypochlorous acid, which kills bacteria. So usually to kill the bacteria, these free radicals are generated. Then third source of free radicals, the reactive oxygen species, is lipid peroxidation. So lipid in presence of the hydroxy radical forms the alkyl radical. Alkyl radical in presence of oxygen forms peroxyl radical, LOO dot. Then in presence of lipid again, it forms lipid peroxide, and in presence of metal ion, it forms alkoxyl radicals. The alkoxyl radical in presence of the lipid again generates the alcohol LOH and also the alkyl radical. So alkyl radical is the byproduct during the generation of the reactive oxygen species during the lipid peroxidation. So the alkoxyl radical and the peroxyl radical, these are the two main free radicals generated during lipid peroxidation. So if we summarize, superoxide is generated in mitochondria, mainly in the cardiovascular system. Hydroxy radical is generated during iron overload. Hydrogen peroxide is generated by a large number of reactions in our body, and it is a main source of the hydroxy radical. Then peroxyl radical is generated from lipids, proteins, DNA, sugars, etc. Then organic hydroperoxide reacts with transient metals to generate reactive oxygen species. And ozone is an atmospheric pollutant which reacts with various molecules to yield singlet oxygen. Singlet oxygen is generated during photosensitization and chemical reactions. So for generation of singlet oxygen, we need sensitizers like methylene blue, acridine orange, riboflavin, porphyrin, chlorophyll. They act as sensitizer. So absorption of energy, so the source may be UV light, ionizing radiations. So absorption of energy by a sensitizer in the ground state is associated with promotion of an electron to the next energy level in a singlet state or excited state. And the electron in a singlet state has a different spin, and that promoted to the next energy level. You can see here. So this is the ground state molecular oxygen, and when the sensitizer absorbs upon irradiation and gets excited, and the energy transport to ground state molecular oxygen from an excited sensitizer is used to promote the electron to the next energy level. So here, and you can see the spin is also changed, opposite spin. Here you see the spin, and here you see the spin. So this is the ground state molecular oxygen, and this is the singlet molecular oxygen, where because of the energy there is this excited state with a different spin. So this is called singlet molecular oxygen, and this acts as a non-radical reactive oxygen species. So the reactive oxygen species, they can interact with the lipid, protein and nucleic acid, and because of that there can be lipid peroxidation and site specific oxidative damage and DNA damage. And due to lipid peroxidation there will be extensive membrane damage, organellar and cellular. And due to site specific oxidative damage there can be fragmentation of peptide chain, site specific amino acid modification, increased susceptibility to proteolysis, altered electrical charges. And because of the DNA damage there can be base degradation, single strand breakage, cross links with proteins. So all these cause injury to the cell membrane, the cell components. There will be tissue damage, there will be pathological conditions. So in heart, we can have heart attack, ischemic heart disease, shock, heart failure, hypertension, all due to oxidative stress in heart. In cataract, retinal damage in eye because of oxidative stress. In brain, we can have pathological conditions due to oxidative stress like neurodegenerative diseases, Alzheimer's disease, Parkinson's disease, epilepsy, stroke, etc. can also be there. In kidney, we can have glomerulonephritis, renal failure due to oxidative stress. Asthma, COPD, cystic fibrosis, all are due to oxidative stress in lungs. Rheumatoid arthritis due to oxidative stress in joints. And when there is oxidative stress in multiple organs, we can have cancer, diabetes and aging. We are growing old day by day because of oxidative stress. So this is all about the reactive oxygen species, and their actions, how they cause pathological conditions in our body. Thank you.